Can't do words. Hey, hello team, my name is Monique, welcome back to The Cauldron, and today we are talking anticipated sequels that are coming out in 2021. In case you didn't know, this is Bookwitch Reviews, my channel, and I love series. I love a good binge, I love a good sequel. I am not always good with the whole having to wait, because then even though I remember most of the plot, I feel like I need a reread, so I'm just like, that becomes a lot. So most of the time I love a good series binge. However, in the last couple of years I have become very attached to some series that are not yet finished. So this is going to be a sequel anticipated releases video. That's not a very catchy name, but that's what it is. And I will obviously not be giving any spoilers. However, we can look at the cute covers together and then we can pine and we can be excited. Are you ready? Let's go. The first book I want to talk about is the third and final book in the Something Dark and Holy series by Emily A. Duncan. The book is called Blessed Monsters and it comes out on the 6th of April. I am so stoked for this. The first book, Wicked Saints, basically introduces us to Nadia, who is a young cleric in a fantasy world that has been at war for eons. She hears the voices of gods. However, suddenly she is not sure whether or not the gods are who they say they are or whether or not they are right. We are also introduced to Malachi, who is a monster in a boy's skin, and Seraphine, who is a blood prince. And I love them. This is a very intensely deep dive, like dark fantasy. I would say that it's more new adult than young adult, because there is a lot of like gore and a lot of violence. There's also a whole lot of queer representation, which I absolutely adore. It's more like just a casual thing thrown into the mix, and it's just monster boys. I love them. I absolutely adore these books and I cannot wait to read the final, even though I'm pretty sure she's gonna hurt Seraphine and it's gonna make me cry. The next book is the fourth book in the A Chorus of Dragons series. It is a series that I thought only had 3 books, and so when I read the last one I was like, what just happened? However, this is The House of Always and it comes out on the 11th of May. This is a adult fantasy series. It follows several different points of view, but we especially follow Kieran, who is a young adopted son of a bard. However, one day he finds out that he is the son of one of the ruling families in this fantasy world, and he gets pulled into this political society that has everything to do with violence and very little to do with actual family. It is a wonderful series. It has so much queer rep. It has gender non-conforming like cultures. Basically, the series is to die for. The first book, The Ruin of Kings, is so good. However, my absolute favorite in the series is the second book, The Name of All Things. However, I am going to die the moment that I have The House of Always with me, because I will be reading nothing else and then I'll most likely cry for the better part of a year afterwards. I'm not sure whether The House of Always is the last book or whether this is not just another book and there will be more, but I'm hoping for more. But at the same time, I would also like everyone to survive. This is not a series for a younger audience. There is severe trigger warnings for violence, for sexual assault, for slavery. There's a lot. You should check it out. But however, it is definitely a series that I do not feel like people pay enough attention to, because the level of detail, there are severe amounts of like prophecies and just the culture. There is so many different fantasy countries within this realm, and it's just Jenn Lyons, like I bow down to you and your brain. The next book has actually been pushed back. Its original publishing date was in June. However, now it is in September. And the book that I'm talking about is The Last Graduate, which is the second book in the Scholarman series by Naomi Novik. The first book, A Deadly Education, was my second favorite book last year. The first book is situated in our own world where we follow a magic school that is basically evil. It is there to try and keep as many children alive as possible. However, this is hard. It is a school without teachers. There are grades, but they are sort of mainly just a survival school. And the people there send their children there because there is a bigger chance of them surviving than if they stay out in the real world. We follow Elle, who has sort of a connection to the darker side because this magic system is built on balance and her mother is more of a white witch. But Elle just wants to survive. Elle just wants to do the best she can. And in comes Orion, who is the resident hero. He's also basically a golden retriever in human form. I adore them. This is a young adult version of new adult series. It is sort of violent, but at the same time really funny. It seems to have really divided people. Some people really love it and some people really hate it. However, this is a book that I cannot wait for. And I just want more Elle. That is what I want. The next book that I am going to talk about is the third book in a series that I never thought was going to be an actual series. The first book, Carry On by Rowell, is basically a parody of a wizard school and like the prophecy of the chosen one. Simon Snow is the worst at magic and still somehow he is like the golden boy. The third book, Anyway the Wind Blows, comes out on the 6th of July. And this is just a series that I adore it. It's just really funny. It's just really easy. It is also centering around a male-male romance. In the first book, it is an enemies to lovers. It is just so weird and so funny and so parody-ish, and I know some people really don't like it, and I absolutely adore it, and I cannot wait for the third book. The next book is one that I have been waiting for absolutely ages. It is the final installment of the Crown of Feathers series, where we end with Wings of Shadow by Nicki Preto, which comes out on the 13th of July, and this series is just nostalgia fantasy. Like it hugs my heart. And basically in the first book, Crown of Feathers, we meet Veronica and her sister Val, who are both sort of refugees and also hideaways because they have this animal magic which is now illegal in their country. Their countries used to be ruled by these phoenix queens. However, after a lot of civil war, the phoenixes are now basically extinct, and so Veronica and Val are on the run. However, they get into an argument and end up like going their separate ways, and Veronica hears that there are phoenixes living again and they are building an army. And so she dresses up as a boy to go find them. And I adore a girl dresses up as boys trope. It is one of my favorite. It reminds me so much of Tamora Pierce, who's my fave, as you all know. And the second book, Heart of Flames, absolutely murdered me. And I cannot wait to see what this last book has in store. It is so good. It is so deep dive, young adult fantasy. And it's just, so good. Also casual queerness. We stand to see it. The next book is one that does not technically have a cover yet. It comes out on the 24th of August and it is the sequel to The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. The second book is named The Thousand Eyes and the series in itself is called The Serpent Gates. This is a series that I mull over regularly. It is a deep dive fantasy novel. It is new adult to adult, and basically in the first book we follow a orc priestess who is meant to be sacrificed to this death god. However, one day she gets offered to do something else, and so she becomes a mercenary and a bodyguard and a thief, and I adore her. We have so much queer relationships in here. We have friends to enemies to friends again. Our main nemesis in the book is basically like an angry brother, but they are bound together, and it is just such a weird and wonderful series. The second book, I just must have it, and I also have a really intense need to reread this book because I don't think that I took it in as well as I could have, because I power read it as an arc, and then I got the actual book. The cover is so stunning, and it's just one of those books that no one talks about. However, I adore it, and the fact that yes, Orc Priestess and her basically like weird little wizard girlfriend, and then this grouchy elf guy who's gay as hell, and I'm just like, peak. The peak has hit, and I want to read the second book. Next up, we have the second book to a series that I only just started recently. The first book, The First Sister, I read earlier this year. It is a stunning sci-fi adventure. The second book, The Second Rebel, comes out on the 24th of August as well. Basically, in the first book, The First Sister, we are introduced to a multi-universe However, humanity seems to have split into two, one that is very into technology and one that is more embracing a religious aspect. The first sister follows two separate characters, one from either side of these worlds. We are also introduced to the sister order, so they are priestesses, but you are also allowed to have sex with them to make yourself feel better. So this is like a high intense sci-fi. I would not say that it is for people who have any issues with sexual assault, though this is not like explicit in the pages. It is explicit almost in like the sort of backstory. However, the series in itself is absolutely wonderful. We have a gender non-conforming character as well, and I am super stoked to see where this series is going, because the first book is actually quite short and I want more. That's what I want. Another release that I am very excited about is the second book in the duology for The Midnight Lie. The second book, The Hollow Heart, comes out on the 14th of September. Marie Rutkoski wrote the Winner's Curse series, which I believe is loosely tied to this book. However, in the first book, The Midnight Lie, we are introduced to our main character, who is part of the underclass in a society where the lowest class, the poverty class, basically are not allowed to eat anything spicy. They're not allowed to wear color. They are continuously punished by the people that are above them, so the nobility. However, our main character one day meets a young woman who dresses like a man, who says that the upper class has magic, and if she wants it, our new main character can help her get it. It is a weird, banterous relationship. First book puts itself on its head. By the end of the book, it is super intense, super well done. It is also a female romance, and I adore it. It's just so sassy and so good, and the ending is just like... So I would really like to have The Hollow Heart now. Thank you very much, Marie Rutkoski. Give it to me now. And the second to last book that I just really want to talk about is possibly my most anticipated release like this year. It is the second book to the Scapegracer series. It is called The Scratch Daughters. It is written by Hannah Abigail Clarke, and it is a magical realism, gritty teenage coven bonanza, basically. In the first book, The Scratch Daughters, we are introduced to Sideways Pike, who is a young lesbian witch who doesn't really have any friends, doesn't really like get along with other people, until she is hired to do a prank for the three most popular mean girls in school, and they together end up becoming somewhat friends. It is this almost surrealistic like friendship group that comes together. It has so much queerness. It brings me so much joy. It is also eerie in a way, and there are things happening besides the main plot of Sideways finally getting these friends. There's also like a curse and a girl, and it's just the Scapegracers live rent-free in my mind, and I want The Scratch Daughters immediately because I need it. The book is meant to come out on the 14th of September. However, I just want it right now. Like, you honestly cannot make me wait till September to read the second book. Like, feel like dying, team. This is such a good book. It was in my top 10 of last year, and I'm absolutely certain that I'm going to love The Scratch Daughters just as much. And because I like making even lists, the number 10th book in this list is Crescent City 2, which does not have a cover. It says that it is coming out on the 2nd of November. However, I just don't think that's true. Crescent City, aka The House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas, came out early last year, so we can hope we get it this year, but I just don't think it's gonna happen. However, I really want it to. This is Sarah J. Maas's first real foray into adult urban fantasy. Crescent City is basically a book where we are introduced to Bryce Quinlan, who is a half human, half fae. She suffers a massive blow to her like lifestyle very early on in the book. I don't want to ruin it for you, so I'm not going to tell you what it is, but basically the initial part of the book and the like after the first couple of chapters is several years apart, and basically she has to change her entire lifestyle because of this one big event. And then several years later, there are these murders that are propping up again, and the archangel of the city tells Bryce that they would like her help with it to fix it. And so she meets Humph Althar, who is a fallen angel who is basically enslaved to the archangel, and they together have to figure out why these murders are happening. And I absolutely adored Crescent City. I just cannot, like, there are so many levels to this book, and I desperately want a reread of it. I also desperately would like Sarah J Maas to publish this book in November this year, because that would mean 2 Sarah J Maas books in a year, and that would bring me great joy. And that is it, team. These are 10 anticipated sequels that are coming out in 2021. I hope some of them obviously can be pushed into next year. It's what is happening with publishing currently. It is not something that I have any control over. I fucking wish. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button at the same time so you don't miss out on any other videos from me. You can also click the little bell, which will give you a notification when I put up a new video, which I do regularly. I have tried to speed talk throughout all of this. However, I still feel like it's going to be a long video, so leave me a comment down below telling me what sequel you guys are interested in this year, and then I'll speak to you guys soon. I hope you're well. Bye.